Hello, I'm Robin Gates. Thank you for joining me for a discussion about the board's role in measuring and monitoring performance. This is a presentation that I gave to the Board Leadership Development Conference put on by United Way. I've broken the video into 4 parts. The first part will deal with the board's role in measuring. Then we'll move into how to determine what to measure and how to measure. Then the monitoring process. How does the board go about making this systematic? And then finally, a wrap up where we talk about some of the practical problems and the next steps. We have several objectives for our session today. The first, we'd like to start off with understanding what the board's role is in monitoring performance. Really start from that perspective. And then talk about what to measure and monitor at the board level and how that differs from measuring that may be going on, performance measuring that may be going on other parts of the organization. We hope you'll become a more informed consumer of performance data and information to be able to put the information you get in perspective and ask the good questions about what you're seeing. And then, and this is a very important point, and then to determine what as a board you should do after reviewing the performance information. We'll be talking today about several aspects in the context of performance measurement and monitoring in nonprofit organizations, but we'll spend most of the time focusing on monitoring results or the impact that an organization has on the outside world and the people you're trying to serve. And I'd like to start off with a couple very quick clips here from executive directors who have been dealing with this issue of looking at what is our impact, how do we know if we're having providing benefits, and what do we do about that. So let's listen to that for just a moment.
One of our board members who had grown up in the community when the community looked very different asked, "This is so great that we're doing all these programs, it's so great that we're growing, and it's so great that we're serving all these, but are we making a difference? And how do we know we're making a difference?" So it wasn't just about the number of people we were reaching or the kind of programs, but could we prove what we were doing was making a difference in the lives of the individuals we were serving? And he really pushed that question really hard.
If we don't know we're making a difference, then there's no reason to be doing what we're doing. We can't sleep at night if we don't understand whether we're making an impact.
This is not something that can be done because we have good intentions and we think that the work is making a difference. We have to be able to hold ourselves to standards of evidence that conclusively show that over time, yes, we're making a difference in the lives of young people, but we're also getting better at it. You got to jump out of the plane. And it's not up for me or anyone else to push you. I think that I can just speak to my own experience. I think that there was this sense of curiosity and obligation to think hard about what it was that we're doing and to, frankly, be able to take a risk and to do that from a position of strength and to say, board, funders, staff, we are going to lock arms and jump out of this plane together at the same time and say, look, we don't know if what we're doing is working and why. And there's no more exciting, extraordinary journey than to figure out how and why we're doing is making a difference than to do that in partnership together. What other North Star should there be?
As we go through our discussion today about measuring performance in nonprofits, it can be helpful to think about some of the problems that we face in doing that. And hopefully at the end of the presentation, we'll have a better idea of how we can solve some of those problems. A common one is feeling as a board member, and I've certainly felt this myself, that you're kind of flying blind. You're getting some information, but you're really not sure what's going on in the organization and whether you should be concerned or not. Another problem is knowing what to do when you do get information. We've all sat through presentations, you get some good data, perhaps have some good discussion, but then you're faced with, well, what do we do next? Do we just applaud? Do we say good job? Do we take some sort of action, pass a resolution? A big one, and one that I've certainly experienced a number of times, is the concern that you're missing something, that you may be getting some data and it may be useful, but it's what you don't see that keeps you up at night. And boards have a very important role in governance, and if things really go bad in an organization, the board has some responsibility for that, and it does reflect on the board. So this concern that, are we measuring the right things, and are there important aspects of performance in the organization that we're not keeping tabs on. Another common problem, too much information. Instead of too little and being blind, you may be overwhelmed and not really know what to pay attention to. Another issue is the point of view that the work of the organization is being done by well-intentioned, well-educated people, and in the nonprofit world, many of the things you do are difficult to measure. So the concern is that, on one hand, Peter Drucker's advice that if you can't measure it, you can't manage it, is countered by the view that, well, the important things that we do really can't be measured. And that's a tension that's there. I think there are ways around that, and we'll hopefully get to that. But that is something that we often run into. Then the concern that you don't really have the money to do the monitoring. Things are short of money as it is to do the basic work of the organization. So where does the money come from to collect additional data and present that? Because collecting data isn't cost-free. It takes some time, effort, and money. And then finally, another problem I've certainly run into is no standards. You may have data, but it's like shooting, as the cartoon shows, shooting the arrow at the target, but then you draw the bullseye once you have shot the arrow. So not really knowing ahead of time what's good or bad can be a problem.